You're probably spending money on herbs every single week for plants that could be growing in your backyard for free year after year. Today, that stops. In this video, we're looking at 7 perennial herbs that you plant once and keep harvesting for years. These plants don't need to be replanted every season. When winter comes, they rest. But the moment spring returns, they come back stronger. Our bigger roots fuller plants and even better harvests. Some of them will produce so much that the real challenge isn't growing them, it's keeping up with the harvest. I'll show you how to grow each one, how to keep them from taking over your garden, and the best ways to actually use them in your kitchen. Because a herb garden shouldn't just sit there looking pretty, it should be feeding you. Let's get into it. Herb number 1, and we're beginning with a classic for good reason, oregano. Oregano is one of those herbs people seriously underestimate. They pick up a small pot from the grocery store, use a few sprigs, then watch the rest fade away on the windowsill. And honestly, I understand. If you don't realize how effortless this plant really is, it just seems like one more thing you have to keep alive. But here's the reality. Oregano wants to thrive. It has a deep spreading root system and it grows from the base upward, which means fresh new leaves keep emerging right near the soil line. Over time, the older stems get long and a little leggy, and eventually they begin to flower, which is actually very pretty. But if your goal is maximum leaf production, simply cut those flowering stems back, and the plant will push that energy right back into producing more leaves for you. It really is that straightforward. The flavor of homegrown oregano is also on a completely different level from the dried version sitting in a jar. I'm not saying that for drama, I'm saying it. Because once you taste it, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's bright, peppery, warm, and it carries this almost floral note that disappears once herbs are dried, packaged, and left on a shelf for 6 months. Use it fresh in pasta sauces, on pizza and marinades, and over roasted vegetables. Honestly, once it's growing in your garden, you'll start adding it to everything. And as for maintenance, trim it back a couple of times during the growing season, and that's basically it. Let it do its thing. Once established, it doesn't need constant watering. It doesn't need rich, heavily fertilized soil either. In fact, oregano develops stronger flavor when it's grown in slightly lean, well-drained soil. That ease is what makes it such a good herb for beginners. You are not fighting it or constantly fixing problems. Most of the time, oregano is happiest when you stop fussing and simply give it sun, airflow, and space. So this is one of those rare plants where doing less actually gives you better results. Herb number 2 is thyme. And if oregano is the one people underestimate, thyme is the one that surprises them with just how many choices exist. Most people think thyme is simply thyme, those little green sprigs they see at the store. But once you visit a proper nursery or start exploring what is actually out there, you realize there is a whole world of thyme varieties. You have lemon thyme with its gorgeous citrus aroma that works beautifully in chicken dishes and salad dressings. You have French thyme, English thyme, and variegated thyme with those lovely two-toned leaves that honestly look stunning in a garden bed. Each one brings slightly different flavor notes and slightly different growth habits, but they are all perennial and all respond beautifully to regular pruning. Here is where most people go wrong with thyme. They either never cut it back or they get too hesitant to prune it hard enough. When thyme is left unpruned, the center becomes woody and bare, and the plant stops giving you the soft, flavorful growth you actually want. The solution is simple. When you prune, remove about half the plant. Yes, half. It sounds harsh, but thyme answers a hard haircut by coming back bushier, denser, and more compact than before. Fresh growth appears right where you cut, and instead of ending up with a leggy, woody plant, you get something full and productive. Thyme also makes a truly beautiful ground cover when you let it spread a bit through your garden beds. It is low maintenance, it makes lovely little flowers that pollinators absolutely love, and you can snip from it whenever you need it. It fits almost any garden without asking much. It earns its place on practicality alone, then surprises you by being gorgeous too. Herb number 3 is one I have a lot of feelings about, and those feelings are respect and caution in equal measure. We are talking about mint. Mint is incredible. The flavor is bold, bright, and clean. It grows fast. It is almost indestructible. And there are so many varieties that you could genuinely collect mint the way some people collect houseplants. Mojito mint, chocolate mint, Moroccan, mint peppermint, spearmint, apple mint, pineapple mint, the list keeps going. Each one has its own personality and its own best use in the kitchen and the garden. But here's what every gardener who has ever planted mint straight into the ground eventually learns. Mint is a runner. It spreads underground through horizontal stems called stolons. And if you give it even a little open soil, it will take over fast. I have heard plenty of horror stories from people who planted mint once in a corner, and 2 seasons later found it weaving through the whole vegetable bed. It does not ask permission. It does not care about your other plants. It just spreads. So here is the rule, and it is not negotiable. Always grow mint in a container, a pot, a raised planter, a woolly pocket. Whatever you have, just keep it contained. Do that, and it will reward you constantly with lush, fragrant growth you can harvest again and again. It is still one of the easiest herbs you can grow as long as you honor that one condition and give it boundaries. For harvesting, snip the stems often. The more you cut, the more it pushes new growth. And do not let it flower if you want the best leaf production. Once flowering starts, the leaves lose a little of their punch. Keep pinching off those buds and you will have fresh mint all season long. That is the whole relationship with mint. Respect its vigor, contain its roots, and it becomes a steady, generous herb instead of a garden problem. Keep harvesting, keep it boxed in, and it will give you armfuls of fresh leaves for teas, sauces, desserts, and summer drinks with almost no fuss. Herb number 4 is rosemary, and honestly, it may be the one I think every gardener should have outdoors. Rosemary belongs in a category compared to the others on this list. It is not just an herb, it is a landscape plant. It makes a statement. A well-established rosemary plant is one of the most beautiful and useful things you can grow, and that combination is genuinely rare. What people underestimate about rosemary is the size it can reach if you simply let it go. We are talking about a plant that can get 5 feet wide and just as tall. In ideal conditions, some push even farther, 8 feet and occasionally more. So if you tuck it between your basil and tomatoes expecting it to stay small and polite, you are going to create a problem for yourself in a few years. Put it in your landscaping instead. Give it room. Let it become the architectural feature it wants to be, and then remember to harvest from it and cut it back a couple of times each year. Now, here is something I did not understand for a long time, and learning it really changed the way I looked at rosemary. There are 2 main growth habits, the upright type, which grows tall and vertical, and the prostrate or trailing type, which spreads horizontally and stays closer to the ground. Most people grow the upright form simply because it is the one most commonly sold. But if you cook with rosemary often, the prostrate kind is the one you want. The oils in trailing rosemary are less bitter, which gives your food a softer, more nuanced flavor. Upright rosemary can carry a slightly harsh, almost medicinal edge when you use a lot of it in cooking. The trailing type is gentler and more versatile. I use trailing rosemary on everything from roasted potatoes to focaccia bread, and the flavor is on another level. Once you cook with fresh homegrown rosemary from a prostrate plant, the dried, jarred version feels like an entirely different ingredient. Rosemary also asks for almost nothing once it is established. It tolerates drought after it develops a strong root system. It does not want rich soil. In fact, it prefers things drier and leaner. Do not overwater it. Do not baby it. Let it do its job and harvest from it often. It thrives on neglect in a way that almost feels insulting after all the time you have spent fussing over more demanding plants. Herb number 5 is lemon balm, and I think it deserves far more attention than it usually gets. Lemon balm belongs to the mint family, and that tells you 2 things immediately. First, it is going to grow with real enthusiasm. Second, it needs some control just like mint because if you leave it alone in an open bed, it can spread aggressively through your garden. Keep it in a container or within a clearly defined space, and it becomes an excellent plant to have around. The leaves look a lot like mint with that same general shape and slightly textured surface, but the moment you crush one between your fingers, you get this beautiful, bright citrus scent that is honestly one of the nicest smells in the garden. It is clean, sunny, a little sweet, and it instantly makes you want to use it. It grows fast, smells incredible, and earns its place quickly. And the uses are genuinely wonderful. Lemon balm makes one of the most calming, naturally sweet herbal teas you can brew at home. Just steep fresh leaves in hot water. No bitterness, no sharp edge, just clear lemon flavor. It is also fantastic in homemade sorbets and ice cream, which sounds fancy, but is actually very simple when you have a pot of it growing right outside your kitchen door. Some people use it in cocktails and lemonades too, and that makes perfect sense. From a health perspective, lemon balm has been used traditionally for centuries, as a calming herb often brewed into tea to help with stress and sleep. I am not making any medical claims, but I will say that sitting in the garden with a cup of fresh lemon balm tea feels pretty therapeutic all by itself. Herb number 6 is chives, and this might be the most generous plant on the whole list. Chives are the quiet overachievers of the herb garden. They do not demand much attention. They do not create problems. They simply keep growing, multiplying, and showing up for you. You have two main kinds to choose from: the round-leaved onion chives with their mild onion flavor, and the flat-leaved garlic chives, which bring a slightly stronger garlicky edge and produce beautiful white flowers in late summer. Both are excellent in the kitchen, and both are genuinely easy to grow. What makes chives especially valuable in a perennial garden is the way they expand over time. You may start with a small clump, maybe about the size of a tennis ball, and after a few seasons, that clump can grow into something the size of a dinner plate. And the satisfying part is that you can divide those larger clumps and plant the divisions elsewhere in your garden, or pass them along to friends and neighbors. There is something really rewarding about a plant that keeps giving you more plant. And I want to point this out because a lot of people still do not realize it. The flowers are edible. Both the purple blooms on onion chives and the white flowers on garlic chives are completely edible, and they look beautiful, scattered over a salad or a bowl of soup. They carry a mild onion flavor and make any dish look like it came from a restaurant. Do not cut them off and throw them away. Put them to use. Chives also go with almost everything: scrambled eggs, baked potatoes, cream cheese, grilled fish soups, salads. If you are ever unsure what to add to a savory dish, a handful of fresh chives is almost never the wrong answer. Herb number 7 is lemon verbena, and this one has a reputation I really want to clear up. Lemon verbena can seem intimidating, because if you have ever seen a mature, well-established plant, it can get genuinely huge. We are talking about something shrub-sized, and in very warm climates, it can even start pushing into small tree territory. Because of that, some people avoid it completely because it looks like too much plant, while others put it in the ground without understanding what is coming, and then end up overwhelmed. But here's the good news. Lemon verbena is completely manageable once you understand how it behaves. The key is regular pruning. If you keep cutting it back, and I mean actually cutting it back, not just tidying the tips, it stays compact and productive. If you want even more control over the size, grow it in a container. That alone makes it much easier to manage. The leaves will die back in cooler weather, and this is where people sometimes panic and assume the plant is dead. It is not dead. It is resting. When spring returns, you will start seeing fresh new growth pushing from the stems and base, and within a few weeks you have lemon verbena again. The flavor is stronger than lemon balm, more concentrated and almost perfume-like in the best way. It is wonderful in teas, exceptional in desserts like ice cream and panna cotta, and beautiful in cocktails. Add a few leaves to a simple syrup and it changes the whole character of a drink. The aroma alone makes it feel special, but the plant also rewards you with repeated harvests when you stay consistent with pruning. It is one of those plants that once you discover it keeps giving you new reasons to keep harvesting it. So those are all 7 oregano, thyme, mint, rosemary, lemon balm chives, and lemon verbena. 7 herbs that share one big advantage. You plant them once and they keep paying you back season after season, year after year. No replanting, no starting over, no last-minute trip to the store every time a recipe needs a fresh sprig. There is something genuinely meaningful about building a garden like this. Yes, it saves money, and it absolutely will, but it also gives you something living that grows with you. A perennial herb garden gets better over time, not worse. The plants get larger, the roots go deeper, and the harvests get more generous. It becomes a permanent part of your home that works for you every day, whether you are making a Sunday roast or brewing a simple cup of herbal tea on a Tuesday morning. If you are just getting started, my honest advice is this: do not try to grow all 7 at once. Pick 2 or 3 that fit the way you actually cook and live. Start there, let them establish, then expand. If this helped you, please like the video and subscribe to Backyard Yield. Thanks for being with me today. Happy growing!